Good morning. Yep, another schedule change, but this time it's because I can't seem to get any more footage for the other game. Oh well, let's talk about Hotline Miami. I'm gonna die. Seriously, I'm gonna die. This game is that fucking hard. Created by John Soderstrom and Dennis Whedon. If I pronounce those names wrong, let me know. Hotline Miami and his sequel, Wrong Number, are both known for being extremely difficult. Why did I play it, you may ask? Frankly, I bought it after watching Some Call Me Johnny's review on it. It looked interesting, to say the least. The original was released in 2012, while the latter was released last year. Two very positive reviews. But these games weren't strangers to controversy. I mean, are you even watching this somewhat choppy footage? Thank you, game. This is some pretty violent stuff. This time, like the last, I will be talking about the game in 5 categories. Story. Okay. Characters. Sure. Gameplay. What I dislike and what I do like. Now, if you know the nature of these games, then you will understand why I will not censor myself for this review. That said, as the great Deadpool once said, this shit's gonna have nuts in it. The story is a mess. Think of something along the lines of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. There were storylines that I could pick up, but the first game isn't much about the story, and the second one has quite a few storylines that either abruptly end or switch between characters. What I got from the first one is that the lead player, known as Jacket, keeps getting hallucinations about these 3 guys in animal masks, who I think lead you to other locations through entering machine messages, where you wreak havoc while wearing a mask yourself. You pick up this girl in one stage, she stays with you throughout most of the game, but you never interact with her. Then you see a couple of the mooks you already killed, which told me it was all a hallucination. Or so I thought until I played the sequel, Wrong Number. In Wrong Number, you go through a multitude of storylines, and each one is as nonsensical as the last. One storyline has you take the role of a group of vigilantes who just aim for something to do. Another has you going back before the events of the first and playing as a soldier, and the third has you playing as a journalist who is working on a novel. There are some other storylines, but truth be told, most of them just stop as soon as they're brought up. For example, the very tutorial has you play through the scene of a horror film. It's brought up once more, and as far as I've played, that's fucking it. You don't see it again. Characters. These guys are out of their goddamn minds. There is nothing right about a single one of them. In the first game, there's 4 noteworthy characters. The mute player and the 3 guys I previously mentioned. These guys give off quite the unsettling vibe. Maybe it's the masks they wear. Then in the sequel, you have a journalist whom I mentioned earlier, a soldier fighting in Hawaii, the group of vigilantes who have nothing better to do and end up dying halfway through the game, and this dick of a detective who finishes off the last of the vigilantes. You're not supposed to like any of these guys. At all. But you don't really know that much about them. That said, I can't say you're supposed to. Oh, I almost forgot. You also play as the son of the boss from the first game. And, oh, I'll get into that battle soon. Now, one of the 3 guys from the first game, the fucker in the rooster mask, does show up here and there to further give the game an air of uneasiness. Gameplay. Oh, I'm sorry. I just had a flashback from how many times I died playing these games. Fucking hell, these games are hard. They're top-down shooters with you only able to survive 1 bullet. 2 in the first if you wear a specific mask. Right, I should talk about the masks as well. Every mask you collect gives you a different ability. From being able to Saitama one-punch damn near everything, to giving you a knife, and in the first game, that mask saved my ass so many times. Most enemies go down in one hit, and they usually carry firearms, but they can also carry melee weapons, be it a knife, machete, bat, or pipe. There are also these fast dogs. Be careful of them. And there are these big guys. These are really the only kind of enemies that can take multiple hits, but they begin to bleed out after the first. Meaning if you silently shoot the big guy and wait a couple of seconds, he'll drop. I think I covered all the basics, so let's get into the dislikes. At times this game can be fucking unplayable due to its difficulty. What makes it worse is that the game's difficulty comes from one of two things. Incredibly cheap enemy placement. For example, one level in Hotline Miami 2 starts off with a knife-wielding enemy immediately attacking you. You have next to no time to react. The other way these games can be difficult is through how fucking many enemies they can cram into the levels themselves. Look at this! I'm supposed to enter this room and take out the gunman, but when I enter, there are 7 other bastards waiting to bash my skull in. That's bullshit! Look, I know this game is a callback to the super hard NES games of the late 80s, early 90s, but if you try to be like them, you not only embody the things everyone liked, but you also embody the things they can't stand. Then, at the end of the first game, we face off against the final boss. Spoiler alert. The previous bosses were frustrating, sure, but this one was fucking ridiculous on the levels of sads. Let me break it down. You're going to take down 2 panthers, a ninja lady, then the mob boss himself. They all take 2 hits each, but you start off with no weapons. Nearby is a trophy that you will use to bash in the panthers' heads, then immediately chuck it at the ninja girl, provided like the game doesn't decide to insta-kill you, that is. Knock her down, execute her, and she drops 3 knives. You have no room for error, as you have to grab a knife and hide behind the statue, then throw the knife at the mob boss. He'll drop one of his guns, repeat, and you beat him. Doesn't sound that hard, right? It doesn't take more than 5 minutes to beat him. So, why do I say it's as bad as Sans? Because you're going to die repeatedly before you finally get that last shot in. In your winning run, it can take, at max, 5 minutes to beat him. But you're probably going to spend 50 or more if you're lucky enough to get to that last run. And that is the biggest problem these games share. It is an extreme example of trial and error. With some walls that can be shot through, unless you keep the camera button firmly held down and are actively scanning the area, you can be shot and will never know what killed you.
One more thing!
These doors are made of steel. I say that because 1, you cannot shoot them open like in any other game. 2, they absorb your shot, meaning if you're about to take down an enemy and the door swings in front of you, your bullet will not make its mark.
One more thing!
Then there's a few levels like this nightclub one which you can't fucking see anything and all the enemies are in dark clothing. If they make a 3rd game, I hope they fix some of the issues mentioned. I doubt they will, because if they were that fucking crazy to make these games, yeah, they won't do it. And everyone else liked it like this, but I just am not a fan of overtly difficult games. But there are a few things I did like about these two. I have said what I said about the gameplay style, but the visuals are actually really good. Also, while I didn't find much satisfaction with the first game, Wrong Number just rubbed me more in the right way. If I may be sadistic, I enjoy planting a bullet in a passing big guy and watching as he bleeds out. I need help. Anyways, there was one level that added a point to Wrong Number, and that was the trip out scene at the end. I have been told that these games were like one huge drug trip. I never truly got that until that point. And unlike the final boss in Hotline Miami, which I've already voiced my extreme displeasure with, this boss was fucking fantastic! Why couldn't we get more things like this? I want more shit like this, fuckdammit! If you are a fan of old school games, I do suggest giving these games a look, but I have to recommend Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number more than the original. Despite it having the same flaws, it felt more
unbearable. That being said, I feel like I have to add this little extra section. First off, I never mentioned the music. That's because aside from the main menu songs, I just didn't find it that memorable, as I ended up muting the soundtrack after a while. And before I give my final scores, I want to say this. As I mentioned, I've heard people compare these games to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Due to the visuals, that is. I can compare these to that movie too, but for a completely different reason. Fear and Loathing was made to make you feel uncomfortable, and as such, it wasn't exactly made to be enjoyed. Instead, I found the games to be more similar to exploitation films of the 80s. And Hobo with a Shotgun, that movie was actually pretty awesome. However, my ending score has always been based around my enjoyment. And since I'm not exactly supposed to enjoy these games, I cannot give them high scores. With no regrets, my final score for Hotline Miami is a 2 out of 10, and my final score for Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number is a 5 out of 10. That was interesting. I doubt I'll be going back to these games in the near future, but still. Stick around for next week as I review a show I swore I never would review. It's about that time. Have a great day.